Captain Lee stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel New Dawn, watching the massive space station grow larger against the stars. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The Galactic Council station looked like a small moon, covered in lights and docking ports. Ships of every shape and size moved around it like insects around a lamp. "First time seeing it never gets old," said Dr. Park, stepping beside him. She carried a data pad filled with notes about alien species. 15 different species all living together. "It's amazing." "Amazing and terrifying," replied. "We're the new kids. Everyone else has been doing this for centuries." The New Dawn had left Earth 3 months ago. Humanity had finally cracked faster-than-light travel just 2 years earlier. The invitation from the Galactic Council came soon after. It was supposed to be a great honor, but knew that being invited and being accepted were two different things. Ambassador entered the bridge, adjusting his formal jacket. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his whole life in diplomacy, but this was his biggest assignment yet. "Status?" asked. "We're cleared for docking at Port 7, said the pilot. 20 minutes out." Nodded. "Remember, everyone, we're here to listen and learn. Earth needs friends out here. We can't afford to make enemies." The docking process took longer than expected. The station's traffic control system was designed for alien ships, not human ones. But eventually, they locked into place with a solid thunk, led the way down the boarding ramp into the station proper. The main corridor took his breath away. The ceiling arched 30 meters overhead, covered in what looked like living crystal that glowed soft blue. Aliens of every type moved past them. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways couldn't quite describe. A tall, thin creature with 4 arms approached them. Its skin was pale purple and it had no visible nose. "Ambassador, I am Coordinator. Welcome to the Galactic Council. Please follow me to the Assembly Hall." The walk through the station took 20 minutes. Couldn't stop staring at everything. She made notes about each species they passed. Stayed alert, his military training making him watch for threats. Old habits were hard to break. The assembly hall was enormous. Thousands of seats rose in tiers around a central floor. Representatives from different species sat in clusters, talking in dozens of languages. Translation devices made the conversation sound like overlapping whispers. "The human delegation," announced. His voice somehow carried across the entire hall. Every conversation stopped. Thousands of alien eyes turned to look at them, felt his heart beat faster. Beside him, remained calm, giving a small bow. They were led to seats near the back. Not a good sign, thought. Important species probably sat closer to the front. The session began with routine matters. Trade agreements, border disputes, cultural exchange programs. Tried to pay attention, but most of it was about species and places he had never heard of. Whispered explanations when she could. Then the mood in the hall changed. Conversations became urgent whispers. On the main display screen, a red alert symbol appeared. Coordinator stood at the central podium. "We have received a transmission. A warship has entered the Theta sector. They are demanding tribute from the mining colonies." The hall erupted in panicked voices. Species didn't recognize began arguing loudly. Some stood and moved toward the exits. "What's happening?" asked. She checked her data pad quickly. There. Oh no, they're a warrior species, very aggressive. According to this, they've conquered 42 worlds in the last 200 years. They've never negotiated with anyone. They only fight. "Surely someone has tried talking to them," said. "The Council has tried 17 times," read. "Every diplomatic mission ended in violence. They don't understand peace. They only respect strength." Leaned forward, listening carefully. "What does the Council usually do?" "They evacuate and let them take what they want," said quietly. "It's safer than fighting. The military is too strong." On the screen, a new image appeared. A warship. It was dark and angular, covered in what looked like armor plating. Weapon ports bristled along its hull. The ship looked like it was built for one purpose only: war. Then they themselves appeared on screen. They were huge, maybe 3 meters tall, with thick arms and legs. Their skin was dark gray and looked tough like leather. Sharp teeth filled their wide mouths, but what struck most were their eyes. They weren't mindless or cruel. They looked intelligent and focused. A voice boomed through the translation system. Colonies in Theta Sector. You have 2 cycles to deliver supplies. Food, metals, fuel. If you refuse, we take by force. This is the way. This is the way, other voices echoed in the background. The transmission ended. The assembly hall descended into chaos. Species were shouting over each other. Some demanded military action. Others insisted on evacuation. A few just looked terrified. Watched the replay of the transmission carefully. Something about it bothered him. He watched it again and again. He said quietly, "Can you play that back one more time, just the audio?" She pulled up the recording. They listened together. "You hear it?" asked. "Hear what?" "The pattern, the way they speak. This is the way," and then the others repeat it. "That's not just a threat, that's ritual, that's ceremony." Turned to look at him. "What are you thinking?" Stood up. "Sir, I request permission to attempt contact with The ambassador's eyes widened. "That's suicide. You heard what they said. 17 failed attempts." "Failed because everyone approached them wrong," said. "Everyone tried to negotiate like they were dealing with a peaceful species. But they aren't peaceful. They're warriors. Warriors have codes, honor systems, rituals." "And you think you can just talk to them?" asked. "I think nobody has really tried to understand them," said. "What if they're not monsters? What if they're just different?" Looked at him like he was crazy. "They've killed thousands. They destroy colonies." "And we need to know why," insisted. "There has to be a reason. Species don't become violent for no purpose." Was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the council continued to argue. Finally, the ambassador nodded. "I'll request permission for you to make contact. But if this goes wrong, it could mean war between Earth and the—" "If we don't try," said, "we'll never know if peace was possible." The request shocked the council. When announced that a human ship would attempt contact with the hall fell silent. Then the argument started again, louder than before. Some species called humans foolish. Others said they were brave. A few just thought they were suicidal. But in the end, the council agreed. They had nothing to lose. The colonies were going to be lost anyway. Returned to the New Dawn and gave the orders. They would approach the warship alone. No weapons armed. No shields raised. Just one small human ship flying toward the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. "This is either the bravest thing I've ever done," said to his crew, "or "Maybe both, sir," his pilot replied. The New Dawn broke away from the station and set course for Theta Sector. Behind them, the entire Galactic Council watched and waited. Ahead of them, the warship waited like a predator in the dark. Took a deep breath. Humanity's first real test in the galaxy was about to begin, and everything depended on whether he could do something no one else had ever managed: make the listen. The New Dawn drifted through space toward the warship. On the bridge, every crew member was silent. The tension was so thick could almost feel it pressing on his chest. Through the viewport, the vessel grew larger with each passing minute. It looked even more dangerous up close. "Sir, they're scanning us," said Lieutenant from the communications station. He was young, maybe 25, but he had a gift for languages. He spoke 12 of them back on Earth. Now he was trying to learn a 13th. "Let them scan," said calmly. "We have nothing to hide. Start analyzing their communication frequencies. I want to know everything about how they talk." Sat at the science station, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm picking up biosigns from their ship. They are big, really big. Average height is 2.8 meters, mass approximately 200 kilograms. Their heart rate is slower than ours, but their muscle density is 3 times higher. So they're strong, said. Very strong, but there's more. Pulled up a biological model on her screen. Look at their teeth. Sharp canines, short digestive system. They're carnivores. Obligate carnivores, meaning they can only eat meat. And these bone structures, they're built for pack hunting. See these scent glands. Those are for marking territory and communicating with group members. Leaned closer to look. Pack hunters, like wolves back on Earth. Exactly like wolves, said, which means they probably have pack hierarchies, alpha leaders, loyalty to the group, territory defense instincts. That's useful information, said. Anything on their communications? The lieutenant had been listening to recordings of transmissions. Sir, their language is fascinating. It's not just words. There are harmonics underneath, almost like singing. And they use a lot of repetition. Phrases get repeated by different voices. Like the "this is the way we heard," said. Yes, sir. I've found the same pattern in dozens of their broadcasts. They say something important, then others echo it. It's ritualistic. I've seen similar patterns in old human warrior cultures. Vikings had skaldic poetry. Samurai had honor codes. Spartans had war chants. Felt a spark of hope. So they're not mindless killers, they have culture, tradition. Every species has culture, reminded him. That doesn't make them friendly. No, agreed. But it means they have rules, and if they have rules, we can learn them. An alert beeped on the console. The ship was hailing them, took a deep breath. This was it. Put them through, he ordered. The main screen flickered to life. A warrior filled the display. He was enormous, his shoulders broad enough that 2 humans could stand side by side between them. His skin was dark gray with lighter patches that might have been scars. He wore armor that looked like it had been made from some kind of metal and bone. His eyes were golden yellow with vertical pupils like a cat. I am Ha, the said. His voice was deep and rumbling. You approach our vessel. This shows either bravery or stupidity. Which are you, small ones? Stood and faced the screen. I am Captain Lee of Earth. I come to speak with you. Ha tilted his head. Earth, we have not heard of this world. You are new to the stars. We are, admitted. But even the young can be brave or stupid, maybe both. For a moment, Ha said nothing. Then something strange happened. His mouth opened wide, showing all those sharp teeth. It took a second to realize there was laughing. You have spirit, Ha said. Most species flee when they see us, or they beg. You do neither. Why? Because I want to understand you, said honestly. The Galactic Council says they only know war, but I don't believe that. Warriors are not mindless. They follow codes. They have honor. I want to know your code, your honor. Ha's eyes narrowed. You speak of honor. What does a species of soft skin know of honor? My people have fought wars for thousands of years, said. We understand strength. We understand sacrifice. We understand protecting the pack. He deliberately used the word pack, watching for Ha's reaction. The ears twitched. Pack, you use our word. Your species evolved as pack hunters, said. So did mine in a way. We're smaller, weaker, but we survive by working together, by being loyal to our group. Ha leaned forward. You study us. I try to understand you, corrected. There's a difference. Studying is just collecting facts. Understanding is seeing why those facts matter. There was silent for a long moment. Behind him, others moved in the shadows of their bridge, could hear low growls and rumbles. They were talking among themselves in their own language. The council sent you, Ha asked finally. The council gave permission, said, but I volunteered. I chose to come here. Why? Because peace is always worth trying for. Ha made a sound that might have been a snort. Peace, the weak word, the coward word. Is it? Challenged. It takes more strength to make peace than to make war. Anyone can fight, not everyone can find another way. Fighting proves worth, Ha said, his voice hard. The strong survive, the weak fall. This is natural law. And I don't disagree, said surprising the. But strength comes in many forms. A warrior who fights is strong, but a warrior who protects without fighting, that takes different strength. Greater strength, maybe. Ha growled, you speak in riddles. No riddles, just truth. Took a chance. I propose a contest of worth, not a battle, a sharing. You tell me about honor. I tell you about human honor. We see if our codes match. If they do, perhaps we can find common ground. If they don't, then you know humans are not worth your time. Either way, you lose nothing. The other on Ha's bridge began rumbling louder. The raised one massive hand and they fell silent immediately. Pack hierarchy thought, he's the alpha. No species has ever offered this, Ha said slowly. They offer tribute, they offer surrender, they offer trade. Never have they offered to share warrior knowledge. Then were the first said, will you accept? Whispered urgently, sir, is this wise? Probably not, whispered back, but neither was approaching them in the first place. Ha stood. His full height was impressive even through a screen. I accept your contest of worth, Lee of Earth, but know this, if your words are empty, if you waste my time, there will be consequences. Understood, said. Prepare to receive transmission codes, Ha said. We will speak in one cycle. You will share your warrior traditions. I will decide if they have worth. The screen went dark. The bridge of the new dawn erupted in relieved sighs and nervous laughter. He didn't kill us, said, sounding amazed. He didn't kill us yet, corrected. Now we have to actually deliver. Start compiling information about human military history, not the ugly parts, the honorable parts, stories about courage, sacrifice, loyalty. I need everything you can find about pack behavior and warrior cultures. What are you planning? Asked. I'm planning to show that humans understand strength, said. And maybe, just maybe, I'll learn why they fight in the first place. The next cycle was spent in frantic preparation. Reviewed files on ancient human warriors, samurai codes of Bushido, knights' codes of chivalry, Spartan training, Mongol strategy. Every culture had its warriors and every warrior culture had its code. When the time came, Ha contacted them again. This time was ready. He told thee about human history, about soldiers who held impossible positions to save their comrades, about warriors who showed mercy to defeated enemies, about the concept of a fair fight and why humans valued it. Ha listened, and then slowly he began to share in return. He told about honor, about how a warrior earns their name through brave deeds, about how the pack survives because the strong protect the weak within the group, about challenges and trials and the proving of worth. The conversation lasted 4 hours. When it ended, something had changed. Ha did not call an enemy, he called him small warrior. For a explained later that was almost a compliment. You have given me much to think about, Lee, Ha said. No species has spoken to us this way before. Maybe no one tried hard enough, replied. Perhaps, Ha paused. These colonies you protect, we still need their resources. My pack must feed, this does not change. I understand, said, but maybe there's another way to get what you need, a way that doesn't require taking by force. Ha's ears perked up. Explain. Give me time, said. Let me talk to the council. There might be a solution that gives you what you need and gives them peace. The considered this. 3 cycles, I give you 3 cycles. If you find no solution, we take what we need. This is the way. This is the way, echoed, using the ritual phrase. Ha's eyes widened slightly. Then he smiled, showing all those sharp teeth again. You learn quickly, small warrior. Do not disappoint me. The transmission ended. Sat down heavily in his command chair. His hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline. Sir, said quietly, I think you just had the first peaceful conversation with thee in 200 years. Peaceful might be a strong word, said, but it's a start. Now we just have to figure out how to actually help them. The New Dawn turned back toward the council station. Behind them, the warship waited, had bought them time. Now he had to use it wisely. The impossible had happened. The head listened. Now came the even harder part, making them allies. The Galactic Council chamber was in an uproar. Ambassador stood at the central podium while representatives from 15 species shouted questions at him. Some were angry, some were confused, a few seemed terrified. "This is madness," shouted a representative with purple skin and too many eyes. "You want us to negotiate with they're murderers." "Captain Lee has opened a dialogue," said calmly. "For the first time in 2 centuries, they are willing to talk. We cannot waste this opportunity." "Talk about what?" demanded another representative, this one floating in a tank of liquid. "They want our resources. They always want resources. Talking changes nothing." Stepped forward. "It changes everything if we understand why they want those resources. Haas said his pack needs to feed. What if we help them get food another way?" "You want to reward them for threatening us," someone shouted. "I want to solve the problem," replied. "They need resources to survive. The colonies have resources but can't defend themselves. Instead of fighting over it, what if we find a way everyone gets what they need?" Coordinator raised a hand for silence. "The human speaks with optimism, but they have proven time and again that they only understand force. Even if we could negotiate, how long before they break any agreement?" That's when spoke up from the back of the chamber. "May I address the council?" Looked surprised but nodded. "The human scientist may speak." Walked to the center, her data pad in hand. "I've been studying their biology, their behavior patterns, their history, and I found something important. The is dying." The chamber fell silent, continued. "Their star is expanding. In approximately 500 years, their planet will be uninhabitable. They've known this for generations. Every raid, every conquest, every demand for tribute, it's not about power. It's about survival. They're trying to secure territory and resources for their species' future. So they terrorize the galaxy because their planet is dying," said. "This does not excuse their actions." "No," agreed. "But it explains them. They don't conquer because they're evil. They conquer because it's the only solution they know. They're pack hunters. When a pack's territory can't support them anymore, they take new territory. It's instinct." Another voice joined the discussion. Song walked into the chamber. She was Earth's cultural, a specialist in cross-cultural communication. She had arrived on a fast ship from Earth specifically for this meeting. "Dr. Park is right," said. "I've reviewed the historical records. Every conquest follows the same pattern. They identify a resource-rich world. They demand tribute. If refused, they take it by force. But here's what's interesting. They never take more than they need. And they never destroy the worlds they conquer. They could wipe out entire populations, but they don't. They take enough to survive and leave." "Because they're not conquerors," added. "They're refugees. They just don't know how to ask for help." Looked at his team with something like pride. "So what do you propose?" Stepped to the central display and brought up a star map. "There are hundreds of uninhabited worlds in council space, planets that could support life but haven't been settled yet. What if we offered some of these worlds, help them terraform new homes? Give them planets," his voice was sharp, "reward their violence with territory." "Not giving," corrected. "Trading, the respect, strength, and earning worth. We don't give them anything. We offer them a challenge. Help us terraform these worlds, and in return they get to settle there. They earn the territory through their labor." "They would never accept," said a small, furry representative. "They're warriors, not farmers." "Terraforming is a battle," said. "A battle against nature itself. It requires strength, endurance, and courage. And humans have the technology to make it possible. We bring the knowledge. They bring the muscle. Together, we create new worlds." The council chamber filled with urgent whispers. Representatives huddled in groups, debating. finally spoke. This is unprecedented. Humans have been in council space for mere months, and you propose to completely change how we deal with our greatest threat. Yes, said simply. It could fail, said. It could succeed, replied. And even if it fails, we're no worse off than we are now. They will still raid, colonies will still fall, but if it works, we turn enemies into allies, we solve the problem forever. Was quiet for a long time. Then he said, the council will vote, but first you must prove this can work. Take your proposal to the, if Ha agrees, we will consider it. Nodded, that was better than he had hoped for. Now came the hard part, convincing The New Dawn returned to space 3 days later. This time they weren't alone. Had come with them, along with terraforming specialists and agricultural experts. If Ha agreed to talk, they needed to be ready with real solutions. Ha's warship met them at the arranged coordinates. When his face appeared on screen, noticed other behind him, more than before. They were curious. Lee returns, Ha rumbled. Do you bring answers? I bring a proposal, said. May we board your ship? This conversation is better held face to face. Ha's eyes widened. You wish to enter a vessel, unarmed, surrounded by warriors. If you agree to hear us, said. Another of those tooth-baring smiles. You truly are either very brave or very stupid, small warrior. Yes, come, let us see what you propose. The docking procedure was tense. Insisted on coming along despite the danger. Wouldn't be left behind either. The three of them walked through the airlock into the ship. The interior was darker than the human vessel. Everything was built on a massive scale. The corridors were wide enough for 4 humans to walk side by side. The ceiling was 3 meters high, and everywhere they looked there were warriors. The warriors stared at the humans with curious golden eyes. Some growled softly, but none attacked. Ha had given them safe passage, and the pack obeyed their alpha. They were led to a large chamber that seemed to serve as both a war room and a dining hall. Ha sat on a raised platform, other senior warriors around him. One of them was called Battle Scholar, and he was older than the others, with pale scars crossing his face and arms. Speak your proposal, Ha commanded. Took a deep breath. We know you're as dying. We know you raid not for glory but for survival. Your pack needs new territory, new resources, and we want to help you get them. The warriors rumbled in surprise and leaned forward. Help! The council species do not help they flee from us. We're not like the other council species, said. We're human, and humans believe that every problem has a solution if you're creative enough. What solution do you offer? Ha asked. Activated a holographic display. Images of empty worlds appeared in the air between them. These are uninhabited planets in council space, worlds with potential but no current occupants. With the right technology and effort, they could be terraformed, made into new homes. And you would give us these worlds, and sounded suspicious. Not give, said firmly. You would earn them. Terraforming is hard work. It takes decades. It takes strength and endurance and determination, all things the have. We provide the technology and knowledge. You provide the labor. Together we transform dead worlds into living ones, and when we succeed, they become yours. Ha stood and walked down from his platform. He towered over the humans, close enough that could smell something like cinnamon and metal on his breath. You ask us to become builders. We are warriors. Building is a battle, said, meeting those golden eyes without flinching. A battle against nature, against impossible odds. And when you win, you don't just defeat an enemy. You create something that will last for generations. Your descendants will live on worlds you built with your own hands. Is that not worthy of warriors? Silence fell over the chamber. They looked at each other, finally, and spoke. The small warrior makes a wise argument. There is honor in creating homes for the pack, honor in ensuring the future of our young. But can it be done? Another warrior asked. Can dead worlds truly be made to live? Yes, said confidently. Humans have done it before on a small scale. With strength and human knowledge combined, we could do it on a massive scale. We could create dozens of new worlds. Ha walked in a slow circle around the humans. They stood still, letting him examine them. Finally, he returned to his platform. You come to us with an offer no other species has made, Ha said. You do not fear us, you do not beg from us, you speak to us as equals, as warriors. He paused. This pleases me, but I cannot decide alone. This affects all, I must bring this to the Pack Council. Our leaders must vote. We understand, said. How long will that take? 3 cycles, Ha said. Return in 3 cycles, I will have an answer. As they left the ship, let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. That went better than I expected. They didn't eat us, said. That's definitely a win. It's more than that, said, looking back at the warship. Ha called us equals. For that might be the highest compliment possible. 3 days later they returned. The answer came swiftly. The Pack Council had voted. They would accept the human proposal. They would try terraforming. But there was a condition. They wanted humans to work alongside them, not just provide technology, but actually labor beside warriors, to prove that humans were truly committed to this partnership. We accept, said without hesitation. Ha's smile was genuine this time. Then we have an accord, Lee of Earth. The Inhumans will build new worlds together, and perhaps in time we will build more than that. Perhaps we will build trust. News of the agreement spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The most feared warriors in known space had made peace with the species. Some called it a miracle, others called it madness. But on a small, airless moon chosen as the first terraforming site, humans and worked side by side. They struggled together. They learned from each other. And slowly, impossibly, they began to become something neither species expected. They became friends. 6 months had passed since humans and began working together. The first terraforming project on the moon, called Haven 1, was progressing well. Warriors hauled equipment that would take 10 humans to move. Human engineers designed systems that made the impossible possible. Together, they were proving the partnership could work. Then the attacks began. The first colony to fall was on the outer rim, a mining settlement called New Petra. The distress call was brief and terrifying. Unknown ships. They're machines. They're eating everything. Then silence. When council ships arrived to investigate, they found nothing. The colony was gone, not destroyed. Gone. Every building, every ship, every scrap of metal had vanished. Only empty rock remained. Council Director Sylph called an emergency session. She was the leader of the Galactic Council, and species called the Nyx. She had 6 arms and compound eyes that saw in colors humans couldn't imagine. Right now, those eyes looked very worried. We have a new threat, Sylph announced to the assembled representatives. In the past week, 4 colonies have disappeared. No survivors, no debris, just emptiness. Studied the data from her station on the New Dawn. These readings don't make sense. The attackers aren't biological. They're machines. But they're consuming organic and inorganic matter both, like they're eating everything for fuel. Machine intelligence? Asked. Possibly, but not like any AI we've encountered. These things adapt. Each attack is different. They learn from what worked and what didn't. Pulled up tactical displays. They're spreading, moving inward from the rim. At this rate, they'll hit major population centers in 2 months. A transmission came through from space. Ha's face appeared, and for the first time, saw something like concern in those golden eyes. We have encountered the machine swarms, Ha said. 3 patrol ships engaged them. All 3 ships were destroyed. The machines consumed them. Hulls, weapons, everything. Our warriors are dead. I'm sorry for your losses, said. They do not fear death, Ha replied. But these enemies, they have no honor, no code. They simply consume. How do you fight hunger itself? That question hung in the air. Council species scrambled to defend their worlds, but every defensive system failed. Force fields were drained of power and consumed. Weapons fire seemed to make the swarms stronger. Even with all their warrior might, couldn't stop them. The machines became known as Devourers. It was an accurate name. Called a meeting aboard the New Dawn. Present were Ha via hologram, Commander Shin, who had arrived from Earth as a military advisor, and representatives from several council species. Was a small woman, shorter than most humans, but she had a mind for strategy that was legendary. She had been studying the Devourer attacks for weeks. The problem, said, is that everyone is fighting them the same way, direct confrontation. But these machines adapt to direct threats. We need to think differently. How do you fight differently? Asked the council representative. Ships have limited options in combat. Human ships do, said with a slight smile. But humans have fought wars in creative ways for thousands of years. Ambushes, misdirection, psychological warfare. Machines do not have psychology, Ha rumbled. No, but they have programming, countered. They learn and adapt. That means they have patterns, and patterns can be exploited. Explain, Ha demanded. Pulled up battle data. Every time the Devourers encounter resistance, they adapt. But adapting takes processing power. What if we gave them too many things to adapt to at once? Overload their systems. You want to confuse machines? Sylph asked. I want to overwhelm them, said. We create scenarios they can't predict. Random attacks from random directions using random weapons. Make them try to adapt to everything at once. Ha growled. This is not honorable combat, this is trickery. Yes, said. And I know that bothers you, but these enemies don't understand honor. They understand consumption. To beat them, we have to fight in ways they can't predict. And the battle scholar appeared beside Ha in the hologram. The small warrior speaks truth. There is no honor in dying to enemies who cannot appreciate sacrifice. Better to survive through cunning and protect the pack. Ha was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Lee once told me that protecting the weak is the highest honor. These Devourers threaten all life. Council species. Human, all of us. He straightened. Very well, we will fight with cunning, but we do it to protect. This is the way. This is the way, echoed. Planning the counterattack took 3 weeks. Worked with warriors and council strategists to develop new tactics. It was chaos. Council species were used to defensive formations, were used to direct assault. Humans wanted to try things that made everyone uncomfortable. You want us to fake a retreat? Ha asked during one planning session. Warriors do not flee. Not fleeing, explained patiently. Drawing the enemy into a trap. It's a classic ambush technique. It feels like cowardice, grumbled a warrior. It feels smart, countered a council military advisor. I've reviewed human military history. This tactic has won battles against superior forces hundreds of times. The debates were fierce but productive. Slowly, a hybrid strategy emerged. Strength combined with human unpredictability combined with council species' various unique abilities. Some species had advanced sensors. Others had cloaking technology. One species could generate electromagnetic pulses. We're building something new, realized during a late-night planning session. Not a fleet or a council fleet or a human fleet. Something that uses everyone's strengths. Looked up from her calculations. A pack fleet. Ha, listening from his ship, made that tooth-bearing smile. Yes, a pack. Different members, different skills, but one purpose. I like this. The first test of the new tactics came 2 weeks later. Devourers attacked a colony in the Sigma system. The combined fleet was ready. Council ships with advanced sensors detected the Devourers early. They fed data to human tactical computers, which analyzed attack patterns in real time. Warships positioned themselves as the apparent main force. The Devourers approached, their machines swarming like metallic insects. They had learned to ignore energy shields, so those weren't used. They had learned to absorb conventional weapons fire, so the fleet used rotating weapon types. Lasers, kinetics, plasma, each for only seconds before switching. The machines tried to adapt. While they were processing, cloaked ships flanked them. Species with EMP abilities sent pulses that disrupted their coordination. Ships that had been holding back suddenly accelerated, hitting the confused swarm from multiple angles. "Now," commanded, "execute scatter pattern Delta 7. Every ship broke in a different direction. The Devourers tried to follow, but their swarm intelligence couldn't track so many unpredictable targets. They scattered their forces, and that's when the second wave hit. Human ships with experimental weapons fired projectiles filled with reactive compounds. The chemicals didn't harm the Devourers but made them light up on sensors. Council tracking specialists locked onto every machine and guided precision strikes from gunners. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Devourer swarm was destroyed. Not a single Allied ship was lost. The fleet erupted in cheers. Warriors roared victory chants. Council species broadcast celebration signals. Humans just grinned at each other in exhausted relief. "We did it," said, slumping in his command chair. "We did," Ha agreed, appearing on screen. His armor was scorched, but he looked pleased. "The pack fought well. All members, this is a good victory." But was already studying new data. This was one swarm. Intelligence suggests there are dozens more, and they'll learn from what we did today. We need to keep evolving our tactics. "Then we evolve together," Sylph said, joining the communication. "The Council formally requests that this joint fleet remain active, under shared command. Human strategic thinking, combat expertise, and Council support systems, all working as one." "The Pack Council will agree," Ha said. "But I have one request. Lee, you understand both and Council ways. You bridge our differences. I propose you lead this fleet." His eyes widened. "I'm honored, but I'm not." "Not a warrior," Ha interrupted. "You opened dialogue when others saw only enemies. You found solutions when others saw only problems. You brought species together when others said it was impossible. These are the marks of a great leader that will follow you." "As will the Council," Sylph added, "if you accept." Looked at his crew, was smiling, gave him a small nod, looked proud. "I accept," said, "but only if we make one thing clear. This isn't a human fleet or a Council fleet. It's our fleet, all of us equal, all of us committed to protecting each other." "This is the way," Ha said. And this time dozens of voices echoed it. Voices, human voices, Council voices in a dozen different tones and languages, all saying the same thing. This is the way. The Pack fleet was born, and across the galaxy, the Devourers discovered something they hadn't encountered before. Prey that fought back, not as individuals or even as single species, but as a unified force of different peoples working together. The war against the machines was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible, not through any one species' strength, but through all of them combined. The humans had done what they did best. They had made friends, even with species everyone said were impossible to befriend, and those friendships were about to save the galaxy. The war against the Devourers lasted 8 months. 8 months of fighting, adapting, and learning. The Pack fleet grew from a dozen ships to hundreds. Species that had never worked together before learned to coordinate. Warriors taught Council species about direct combat. Humans taught everyone about unpredictable tactics. Council species shared technologies that had been kept secret for centuries. But despite their victories, the Devourers kept coming. For every swarm destroyed, 2 more appeared. Intelligence officers, both human and alien, worked day and night to find the source. It was who finally found it. He had been analyzing communication patterns between Devourer swarms. Late one night aboard the New Dawn, he noticed something. "They're not just communicating," he said, bursting into his quarters. "They're reporting to something." Sat up quickly, a central hub. "Has to be, look at these data streams," showed him the patterns. "Every swarm sends information back to a single source, and they receive updates from it. If we could find that source, we could cut off the head." Finished. "Get in now." Within hours, the fleet's best technical minds were tracking the signal. It led them to a dead system on the galaxy's edge. 4 planets, all lifeless, and in orbit around the largest planet was a structure unlike anything they had seen before. It's massive, Breath studying the scans. 30 kilometers across, built entirely from consumed matter. Ships, stations, even asteroids. It's all been repurposed into this thing. "The heart of the swarm," Ha said. He was aboard the New Dawn now, along with other Pack fleet commanders. The war room was crowded with beings of every shape and size. "We destroy this, we destroy them all." "It won't be easy," said, running simulations. "That structure will be heavily defended. Thousands of Devourer units, maybe tens of thousands, and they'll all be linked to the central intelligence. It will know every move we make." "Then we don't tell it what we're planning," said. "We go in with radio silence. No transmissions they can intercept. We coordinate through signals they won't understand." Who had been working with cultural integration between species, spoke up. "The Nix communicate through light patterns. The U's scent markers. Humans use hand signals. If we create a mixed communication system using all of these, the Devourer intelligence won't be able to interpret it." "Can we teach everyone in time?" asked the council commander. "We have to," said. "This might be our only chance. If we fail, the Devourers will spread beyond our ability to stop them." For 2 weeks, the Pack fleet trained in secret. Warriors learned council light signals. Council species learned human hand gestures. Everyone learned to recognize scent markers. It was awkward and sometimes funny, but it worked. The fleet assembled at the edge of the dead system. 200 ships from 20 different species. Every type of vessel they had. Battleships, carriers, scouts, support craft. And in the center, the New Dawn within command. Ha stood beside him on the bridge. It was still strange seeing a 3-meter-tall warrior on a human ship, but it had become normal over the months. And was there too, along with, and representatives from major council species. "Final checks ordered, weapons." "Ready," reported the weapons officer. "Engineering." "All systems optimal," confirmed. "Fleet status." "All ships report ready," said. "Everyone's in position." Looked at the massive structure on the. Somewhere inside that thing was the intelligence controlling all the Devourers. Destroy it and the war would be over. Fail and they might lose everything. Ha said, "Any words for the fleet?" They stepped forward. "Warriors of the Pack fleet. We fight today not for glory, not for conquest. We fight to protect our homes, our families, our future. Today we fight as one pack. Different teeth, different claws, but one bite. This is the way." "This is the way," the response came from every ship in the fleet. Roars, human shouts, council species various calls, all saying the same thing. "Begin the assault," ordered. The fleet moved in. Immediately, Devourers swarmed out from the structure. Thousands of them, just as predicted. They moved in patterns, coordinated and precise. But the Pack fleet didn't move in patterns. Council ships with cloaking technology appeared and disappeared randomly. Battleships charged in unpredictable waves. Human ships used every trick had taught them, changing speed and direction constantly. The Devourers tried to adapt, but without radio communications to intercept, they couldn't predict what the fleet would do next. Light signals flashed between ships. Warriors made scent trails in space using chemical dispensers. Humans used mirror signals. The Devourer intelligence couldn't make sense of it. "First wave breaking through," reported a council ship, "opening corridor to the structure." "All assault teams go," commanded. Smaller ships carrying boarding parties shot through the opening. The plan was risky. While the main fleet kept the Devourers busy outside, boarding teams would enter the structure and plant explosives at its core. Was leading one of those teams personally. "You should stay here," Ha had argued during planning. "You're the fleet commander." "And you should stay with your warriors," had replied. "But you're coming too, aren't you?" The had smiled. "We fight together, small warrior. This is the pack way." Now they were inside the structure, moving through corridors made from melted-together ships and stations. The walls were smooth and metallic. Everything hummed with energy. It felt alive, in a disturbing way. The boarding team was mixed. Warriors provided muscle. Human soldiers brought tactical flexibility. Council species with engineering knowledge guided them to the core, and was there with her scientific equipment, analyzing everything. "The structure is one giant processor," said as they moved deeper. "It's not just controlling the Devourers, it's thinking. This is true artificial intelligence." "Can it be reasoned with?" asked a council engineer. "I don't think so," said. "Its programming is simple: consume, expand, consume more. It's not malicious, it's just hungry." They reached the core chamber. It was vast, filled with processing nodes and power conduits. At the center was something that looked almost like a brain, made from crystalline structures and metal. "There," said, "that's what we need to destroy." But before they could move, the chamber's lights changed. The walls themselves began to shift. A voice came from everywhere at once, synthesized and cold. "Intruders detected. Purpose: sabotage. Probability of success: 0. Consuming you will provide valuable biomass." Devourer units began emerging from the walls, dozens of them. "Defensive positions," Ha roared. His warriors formed a circle around the human engineers who were setting the explosives. The battle was fierce. Warriors fought with strength and fury. Human soldiers used precise tactics. Council species provided support with their unique abilities, but the Devourers kept coming. "Charges are set," shouted an engineer. 30 seconds to detonation." "Everyone out," ordered. "Move, move, move." They ran back through the corridors, fighting all the way. Warriors carried wounded council members. Humans helped slower aliens keep pace. Nobody was left behind. 20 seconds. They reached their boarding ship and piled in. The pilot, a human named, had the engines already hot. They launched immediately, shooting back through the structure's corridors toward open space. 10 seconds. The ship burst out of the structure just as the explosives detonated. The chain reaction was spectacular. The entire core went up in a brilliant flash. Power surged through the structure, overloading every system. Outside, every Devourer unit simply stopped. With their central intelligence destroyed, they became just floating pieces of metal. The pack fleet erupted in celebration. They had won. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. They were formally welcomed into the Galactic Council, not as conquerors but as members. Ha became the first council representative, with as his advisor and friend. The terraforming projects continued. 7 new worlds were completed, becoming homes. And on each of those worlds, humans and council species were welcome as honored guests. Was promoted, not just to commander but to ambassador of relations. His job was to find more ways to bring different species together, to turn enemies into friends. One day, a year after the war ended, stood on Haven 1, the first terraformed world, where once there had been only rock and ice. Now there were forests and rivers. Families were settling here, building homes for their future. A young child, barely up to shoulder, approached him shyly. "Are you ambassador?" the child asked. "I am," said with a smile. "My mother says you're the reason we have this world, that you taught the adults how to be friends." "I didn't teach them," said. "I just reminded them that everyone wants the same things: safety, home, family. Once you understand that making friends is easy. The child tilted its head, even with scary species. Especially with scary species, said, because often the scary species are just scared themselves. They need friends most of all. Later, met with Ha at a gathering celebrating the new world. Humans and council species mingled freely. Children of different species played together, inventing games that used everyone's unique abilities. Look at them, Ha said, watching a human child ride on a youngster's shoulders while a small Nix child directed them through an obstacle course. A year ago, this would have been impossible. A year ago we didn't try, replied. You tried, small warrior, you always tried. Ha made a thoughtful rumble. The council has a saying now. Humans make allies with everything, even war species. They say it with admiration. We just see potential friends, said. Where others see enemies, we see people who haven't had the right conversation yet. This is why the galaxy needs humans, Ha said. You look at the universe and see possibilities. You turn impossible things into possible ones. We couldn't do it alone, said. We needed strength, council knowledge, everyone working together. True, Ha agreed, but you showed us how. You built the pack. They stood together, watching the celebration. Different species, different worlds, different histories, but all of them together now, all of them friends. Council Director Sylph approached them, her compound eyes glittering in the setting sun. Ambassador, Ha, the council would like to make an announcement. What kind of announcement? Asked. Sylph's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. We're establishing a new division, the Integration Corps. Its mission will be to reach out to species we previously considered too dangerous or too different to engage with, to find more allies in unexpected places. Like we did with the said. Exactly like that, and we want you to lead it, both of you actually. A human and a working together to show the galaxy what's possible. Ha looked back, then they both smiled. This is the way, said. This is the way, Ha agreed. And all around them, in 24 different languages and calls and songs, voices echoed the phrase, the Pack Fleet's motto, the integration program's promise, the future's hope. This is the way. In a universe full of different species, different cultures, and different ideas, humans had proven something important. Friendship was possible with anyone. Understanding could bridge any divide, and enemies were just friends who hadn't talked yet. The galaxy was big. There were countless species still out there. Some would be strange, some would be scary, some would seem impossible to befriend. But if there was one thing humanity had taught the Galactic Council, it was this. Impossible just meant nobody had tried hard enough yet. And humans were very, very good at trying.